So we're just going to go over a little bit of what the Unity layout is so everyone understands where everything is laid out. So up at the top here, we have this thing. This is the toolbar. And this is where pretty much all of our tools are. So on Blender, if you remember, at the top left of the screen, it was like a vertical bar that had all your tools on it. Those are up here. So if I have, so let's just take this object right here. You can see it moves around in pretty much the same way. This is where Unity and Blender differ slightly, where in Blender, your z-axis was vertical. But in Unity, your y-axis is the vertical one. So you can see right here, this green arrow, it's just slightly different than Blender. It doesn't really matter if you're just using the arrows, but just be mindful that if something is asking for the y-axis in Unity is vertical, the one that goes straight up and down, but in Blender it's not. So just be aware of that. So all of our tools are up here. So if we have this hand tool, we can grab stuff and move the camera around. We have this move tool, which allows us to move objects. I deselected it. We have the rotate tool, which allows us to rotate. You can see I'm turning the lights. We have the scale tool, which allows us to change the scale of certain things. And then we have the transform tool, which don't bother using this one. I'll show you easier ways to mess around with stuff. But movement is pretty similar to Blender. You use the middle mouse button to pan the camera around, and then you can use the right click to rotate the camera. Okay, so from there, we have the project window. And the project panel right here, this one on the far left, you should all have your layout the same way as this, correct? So the project window basically has all the files and assets and everything in the entire project. So this is everything that's used in the entire Unity file, in the entire Unity project, including the stuff that isn't being used in the currently active scene. And speaking of active scene, the hierarchy window, which is directly next to the project window, is all the stuff that is in your scene. So the project is everything in the entire project, and the hierarchy is only the thing in the currently active area that you have loaded. And that is called a scene. So what we have right here is called a scene. Yeah, actually I can just show them on the finished one. So you can see in our scene, right now we have this level, right now we have this level loaded. So we have this currently, which is our currently active scene. So if I go over here, and in our scenes folder, I can click on level 1, you can see this loads a different scene. So that's basically what environment you have. And you can see right here in the hierarchy, things changed in here. If I load scene 2, you can see the things change because there are different things loaded in each scene. Got it? So basically, project is everything in the entire project. You don't need to worry about all that. Hierarchy is everything that's only in the scene. The console will show you if there's like errors or issues or anything. Right now it's throwing me a warning because there's an update to Visual Studio. That's not really important. I'm not going to worry about that. And then in the middle of the screen here, we have the scene view, which is right here. This is how you're going to edit the things within your scene. So we can zoom in and out, we can move the camera. If I click on an object, we can see it selects it, and then we can move it around and do whatever with it. So in the scene view, this is how you're going to manipulate your things. This is just like in Blender. It's just like your normal layout view where you were able to move things around and change your mesh and everything. Below that is the game view. This is what is actually output. This is what your players will see when they play the game. So we have this camera right here attached to our player. This camera is outputting the video that's being recorded right here. So basically, if we play the game, this camera will move around, and what we see on the bottom screen is what the camera shows. So this is the camera, and this is how it works. So basically, your game view is what the final finished product will look like. The scene view is just how you edit things. And then the inspector is probably the most complex one. It's why we have fill it the entire right side of the screen. The inspector is how you, well, inspect different objects. It basically allows you to see the different parameters, the different settings for each individual object. So if I click on our player, we can see we have a lot of stuff like a capsule collider, we have a rigid body, we have a script called pickup, we have a script called movement. You'll understand what all of this is later. I'm not going over that right now, but I'm just showing you this is where you can see all the individual settings. You can change stuff. So in transform, if I modify the position at all, we can see that modifying the position and the transform will move our object. So the inspector is basically how you're going to edit things. So if I select something else, let's say I select this level. Let's say I just click on the level, and that's how you select. If you click on it, you'll have it appear right here. Clicking once will just select the individual object. Double-clicking will select the entire thing. So right here, we have our walls selected, and you can see this is everything. These are all of the settings for the walls. So that's, again, I'll get to that later. I'm just trying to show you where everything is laid out so you understand when I say look in your inspector, you'll know to look over here, or if I say in the hierarchy window, you'll know to look over here. All right.